Amy, would you lead us in the pledge, please?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Hey, Amy.
Yes, sir.
Remember, John's the one with the hearing problem, not Amy.
Well, Allison too, because she doesn't have a hearing aid.
Oh,
Allison.
neither do I.
Oh no! Everybody speak up.
I'm gonna start bringing my speaker in there.
Just talk a little louder, Tom.
Okay. Do we have any exonerations, orders to combine, divide?
No, ma'am.
All right. Sweet.
Cool.
I know, right? Like, I'm gonna put it on here. Ruth, vouchers and invoices.
Yeah, there was the only thing out of the ordinary was the rumor ball field bleachers are gone.
Oh, nice. Good. Thank you for the update.
What's in the Fayetteville mini storage?
That is fire stuff.
That's what?
Fire stuff. You have to ask Joe what's in there.
Fire stuff.
No, didn't we get storage? Why isn't it down at the, I wonder why it's, let's just ask him why it's not down at the.
So if that is potential, it could be moved out there.
Well, that's what I was thinking. Why wouldn't it be at the fire training center? Unless it's like their materials for the.
That's what I'm saying.
The,
Amy said, do they need that building? That's what we're talking about. So.
Are we still trying to find a home for it?
It just hasn't been moved because it's so muddy. We haven't designated anything. So if they have a spot and they have a use.
Well, they do. And we just bought them a building down there. It's too bad. Because remember, it wasn't too long ago that we bought them that building.
They have that new 20-some acres down there.
Well, I don't know if we're talking about the fire training center or.
I was talking about fire training center.
Yeah, I don't know. I think Joe's supposed to be here, or at least on the call.
Yeah.
So.
Well,
Okay,
I've got it marked, so I will be glad to bring it up.
Good. Okay.
I'll make a motion to pay our vendors.
A second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, I don't have minutes. State settlements?
Don't have any.
No.
Oh, she does have some.
To Stephen F. Nana Mocker and Ina Mae Underwood. We approve the estate settlement.
Second.
That's a shame.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Do you know somebody?
In 1 week, pick up 2 people.
All right, you're up. Teddy, you're up. Yeah.
Okay. I want to start off by showing you some pictures. Okay, when we were using the mechanical room, that's storage.
Mm-hmm.
And when they put the new AC units in, and move all that stuff in. Anyway, here is one of your stairwells.
Oh.
These cabinets we have not been able to get to for 2 years. And the other one, it's not as bad. There's your mechanical room.
That's as it is now.
That's what it looks like now. Now, all those chairs, they're all wore out. We had to get new chairs, so those will be removed at some point in time.
It's on that table in the middle.
Right there.
Yeah.
There's all kinds of computers.
So it's like a computer room. Or
Well, those are out of service.
Oh, sir.
so that's all junk. That stuff that needs to go.
Yeah. There's all this is stuff that that's ours. These file cabinets. Some of the file cabinets in there, I think, are for zoning. There's another part of it. Now this is the electrical room that is right beside the zoning office. You have my office on the end, zoning office, and then this office. Guys, that fire marshals.
How many file cabinets are operational? How many of those computers are operational?
Those computers I guess we're going to try to sell those through those file cabinets. Some of those can come out. I talked to Angela. She said that those, they've got all kinds of old stuff from old meetings, and she said they could store that down in the Memorial Building and get that out of there. Some of our stuff we need to purge because there are retention records that we have to keep this stuff for 10 years, we have to keep this stuff forever, and blah 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 blah. So we need to. What I would like to do is get that room. Tommy Harris is in there. Yes. He comes in one day a week. Now I've got totally nothing. Tommy's a friend of mine. I used to go to church with him. He's a good guy. Nothing against Tommy. But he comes in there about 10 minutes, one day a week, checks his messages, and he's out of there. That's what that office is being used for. And if we could get that office, we would apply for grants. Mike and I will share, because he's covered up with stuff too. All this stuff, that's all tax office stuff. So we could get that room and put 2 storage units in there. Those high density storage that slide. They have them in here. We got one, and Mike got one in his office. But we could put one on one side of the room, on the other side of the room. He could store his stuff. I could store my stuff, and you wouldn't have these hazards. But the fire marshal comes in here, guys. You're gonna make it do something.
That's definitely a fire hazard. Hey, Ruth, how often do we do these sales that we can get rid of these?
Anytime, as long as they've been wiped.
Okay.
They have not been wiped. We'll have to
GST can do that.
Yeah, we have to get GST to come in and wipe.
But do we have a lot of that stuff laying around? I know you've cleaned up a lot of it.
Not as much as we used to, but we're still getting rid of a lot.
Okay.
The chairs, we just got the chairs within the last month. So they're new in there, but it's not just the little things like the computers and the chairs and that kind of stuff. It's all file cabinets and stuff that need to come out of there. But simple solution, very simple, is let's have that office for storage. And it's not about us wanting to take an office space or anything of that nature, but we're out of space to be able to store stuff, and that's a simple solution. And after we put those storage units in there, you could probably put a desk and a phone in there if we were able to put the storage units in.
There's more than one room in there, right?
No.
Oh, just one?
That's it. That's all we've got. That's the only place we've got to go. I mean, and the last time I asked her this, they said, well, why don't you store it in the jail? Well, if I store stuff in the jail, somebody has to go over there and file it. When I'm taking somebody out of the office to go over there and file, they're walking away from their customer comes in. You got one less person to wait on. If you got somebody else sick or something, you got.
Well, this past year, how many boxes did we take out of the jail, Ruth?
Like thousands.
Yeah, we took a ton of crap out of the jail.
Unreal.
Like literally.
Yeah. And we're wanting to possibly look at something different with the jail. I really don't want to use it for storage, and I don't think anybody else does. Because if we could use it for offices of some type, that would be great.
But I mean, this would solve a big issue for Mike and I, and you, and actually you guys, because something's got to give, man. We got to have somewhere to put our stuff.
Is the room downstairs cleaned out enough so Tommy could use it as an office to go in?
I have it downstairs, but we have storage at the Memorial Building. We have a room that's storage in the basement that Amy's going to be working on cleaning more out of, because a lot of that's empty file cabinets that need to go.
Okay.
So
I have I have a couple of concerns. One is I feel like that purging needs to take place before a decision like this is made, because right, and here's where I'm coming from. Spaces at office spaces at a premium here. We just don't have enough offices, and we're growing. We had a big thing where Judge Ewing wanted the health department for probation because it's too big, because the family court treatment program, a couple programs that the Supreme Court keeps growing. So we're already pinched for space. I would hate to use an office, because we were thinking about, one of the things as Ruth reorganizes our front office, maybe moving Angela back over there instead of Tommy, to make space over here for the growth that's coming, that's over here. So, that's my concern, is taking up an office space. I think the first thing we should do is purge, and we do have a contract for shredding that we've been using, where they're taking just big tubs of paper and shredding them for us.
Well,
and stuff like that.
The problem is there are things that we can purge. Some of them we can't get to.
Do you have to have physical hard copies of everything, or could, if you had somebody?
Not everything. We don't have to keep everything, but we do have to keep, like, reappraisal, all these books like this.
Mm-hmm.
Those are reappraisal books. Now we have to keep current and one set back. So you've got 3 years worth of the prior cycle, and then 3 years worth of the current cycle. We have to keep those, and then every 3 years you purge those out. And
How many is there?
oh gosh,
Well, I think what she's saying is, correct me if I'm wrong, get all that stuff done.
oh, you mean the old stuff? We purged what we could purge.
So you done got rid of all that.
The guys went down to the park and burned a bunch of the old stuff that we had. But we can purge some things, but what I'm going to be purging is going to be replaced with
The next
other
year.
things.
I'm just wondering if any of it can be scanned and stored electronically rather than in paper form, because we've been making an effort to do that. We bought scanners for our own offices and for clerk's office, and
I don't know. I'd have to check the record retentions to see what we can.
because that almost might be a better solution. Long run, because we're probably going to continue to grow, and I'm guessing that because what we've done is we could even get temps to come in and do scanning and things like that. Is that scanner still over here? They're really small. This little black thing. I have one at home that I use for my law practice, but you can put it right on your desk and it'll scan both sides just on one trip through. Like, they're not slow like the old ones. They just right through and then it's done, and you can save it. And to me, that's like, on the things you can, that might be a good way to get rid of a lot of that paper, and also save the time you're talking about for people to have to go find files if they can have it right available on
There are
computer.
very few cabinets in the back, but there are some that in that furnace room or mechanical room that are empty. But we're overrunning stuff.
So we have empty rooms at the memorial building that can have a key in the basement. They were completely redone for offices, and that never happened. There's at least 3.
There's 3 of them. Yeah.
Yeah, because that's where all our retention files is, because some of the stuff you can't ever get away from.
And you can actually put a lock on the door so no one can get in there except for you guys.
They sung in them built shelves.
Mm-hmm.
We have extra shelves right now too.
Do we?
I think we got some on a grant and didn't use them all.
And we'll have more, because we haven't purged that
No,
yet.
that's
We have
my
it on
summer
March,
project.
but that's another one.
Well, we'll purge what we can, and then I'll come back and talk to you, because I really think that is a good solution.
And the
for us.
computers
And like
too.
I said, if we get those units put in there, they're not. You still got room for a desk, phone, a computer, and that kind of thing.
And all the computers and
Yeah,
all
but
that
then
stuff.
I worry about having all that in there, because there's all kinds of, like, just having those tiny little whole offices for people too. I don't know if, are there like rules about that stuff, like OSHA and that kind of stuff?
I mean, I'd have to look, I don't even know what the name is.
Because I know when I worked at the FBI, they were making office spaces out of storage areas, and we ran into trouble for that because of the conditions in there for whoever had the office. So I don't want to count on being able to use it, I guess, is for a human being.
If that were the case, we couldn't use any office. Because all of our offices are full of file cabinets. You know, they are. I mean, you go to my office, it's got, I've got a really small office, and I've got probably 4 or 5 file cabinets in there.
Yeah.
And all of them do. The front office, I mean, we're getting ready to put, flooring down over there. And we've got about 25 cabinets to move out of that personal property office over there. So we can get the flooring down.
Okay.
But I mean, this would be an easy solution to fix a big problem.
I guess, I mean, again, my concern is, while it would be an expedient for you guys for that, we're having office space problems in the courthouse. And that's my concern, is that we don't, use office spaces for storage where we have storage off-site for some things.
I see your point, but right now that office is getting used 5 minutes a week.
Right. And I understand that, and I agree with that. But right now, like, we've asked Ruth to give us some recommendations with Gabe's resignation and trying to reorganize her office to how she needs it to fulfill what we're asking her to do. So we don't know exactly where we're going to put everybody. We're hiring a data entry person, but we're probably going to hire another person, and that's going to give us an extra person to find a place for. So one of the things was, we had been considering putting Angela back over there, moving zoning back over there. So, we just haven't finished making those decisions. I think for us, this is my opinion alone, but for us, I think it would be premature to sign off on that while we're still.
We get in there and purge that stuff. And we have file cabinets in there that can leave, which we do already. There's some other, what are we going to do with them?
Get in touch with Ruth.
Yeah.
We'll get rid of them.
Yeah.
There's a bunch in the basement. We'll get rid of them.
Yeah.
And some of them they're just not working.
We're going to get on that right away and get this thing underway, because we're just said there's file cabinets in the back, there's things that need to be filed, and we haven't been able to get to them in 2 years.
And are those scanners still about $500?
They fluctuate, especially right now. I've seen them go between $399 to $600. So
they're really good, and they're really fast. The circuit clerk, they use them. Prosecutor's office uses them. They're really easy to.
Eddie, can you scan them as they go through the process of the paper? If you go ahead and start scanning them, so there'll never be any paper backup. Is that what you was going to check to see if you could do?
Well, see those.
And you can take the paper somewhere else.
Say, for instance, the reappraisal books that we use. They are on the dot matrix paper with the.
Yeah.
So you can put them in a folder. In a book
File
and open them up. And like somebody will come in and they'll say, my house wasn't rented in 2020. You go in there and you pull out their document, and there's this Joe Blow signed it as renter.
Mm-hmm.
So you have that to break. That was my problem. But that would be, 44,000 pieces of property. So you have 44,000 of property. You got each document is probably anywhere from 2 to 8 or 10 pages long. But we can look at it and see if it's a viable option. But I don't know. I'm gonna get on it, we'll purge what we can purge and see how many file cabinets we can get rid of. And I'll come back to talk to you.
Okay.
Okay,
Sound good.
and just reach out to Ruth if you need maintenance or anybody to help you with the file cabinets or get rid of them.
Okay.
Good.
Joe, you ready?
And if you would, Joe, please speak up a little bit.
We don't have our hearing aids.
Yeah, mine went this week. So
what were we going to ask him about? Oh, do you guys, what is being stored at the, John, what'd you say it was?
it was Fayetteville mini storage.
We've got spare air packs and probably about 60 air cylinders. Got probably 60 hazmat suits stacked clear up to the
Are
ceiling.
those things that because we have a building, how big, do we know how big it is?
Oh, it's a 30-foot building because you have to haul it on the trailer.
It's a big old
Yeah.
building. It's another one, kind of like what we bought y'all for the
It's behind the memorial
training
building.
center.
Mhm.
Um,
Well, everything's planned on going down to the training center
Well,
once we get.
That's
we were
everything.
wondering if you needed that building because we're trying to find a home for it down there, and if you might be able to store some of this stuff there instead of renting a storage.
To take that building down to the center.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And then could you get this stuff moved and down
Yes.
there and give that up?
Absolutely. Well, I've got another building in Smith or Montgomery because they're a hazmat trailer we had that had piles of equipment on it, and the trailer is pretty much rotted, just sitting. So we had to do away with the trailer, and I had to have a place to put that stuff. So because we had a trailer up here and a trailer in the back. So that's got a big 3-line decon tent.
Okay.
So you guys would have a use for it.
Absolutely.
Okay. Well,
So
that sounds like a good solution.
That's what
I'm glad we haven't been able to move it yet because we've
Yeah.
already had to move it once. Now we have to move it
Like, I
again.
think it was a tractor trailer that had to move it because it's too big for
Will a rollback, will
That's
it fit
what-
on a rollback? No.
Joe,
oh, the sheriff was there.
it was a company that went down there, seen I like what they would move it this way, move it this way. I get you information or DRC for phase one, got a hold of people out of Beckman. I don't remember how much it cost, but we helped them escort them and stuff, so we didn't have to take flaggers and stuff.
Because the last one we got come from down in Houston, and they hauled it up and was able to had a trailer that they would
That's what
shift
this one was.
and everything.
Rollback, we called a record, they said it was too big for rollback.
So it's over behind the memorial building.
Mhm.
I'll go look at it. Has it got a garage door on it?
It has,
yeah,
Okay.
should we go ahead and authorize that expense for them to have that thing hauled back to the place?
I don't know if we can because we didn't notice it. The expense to haul it.
Mm-hmm.
I think Ruth can just authorize it. It'll probably be under her
It'll be
limit.
under $15,000.
it was less
So.
than $1,000.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so,
All right.
yeah.
Okay, good. So that way we don't have to sell it
Yeah.
for nothing.
If you guys need it, then
We'd rather see you use it
please.
Well, thank you.
and get
Yeah.
rid of those storage areas.
Yeah, exactly. All right, so
All right.
you want to tell us what we've got here?
Well, it's basically there are two requests for truck replacement money. And all I need is signatures on the agreements for the replacement agreement from the commissioners, and the invoices are there. If they get an early payment when the cabin chassis arrives, they get like a $10,000 discount. So
Now, let
What's
me ask
the,
you something, Joe. Go ahead, John.
Oh, I'm sorry. I
No,
didn't.
no, go ahead.
Didn't know you were
No,
going.
no, go ahead.
What's the turnaround time,
on
the trucks? How long do we have to wait for them?
Well, once cabin chassis gets here, it shouldn't be maybe a month.
Oh, really?
Month, about what between 1 and 2 months. And after these are delivered, there's only one more being built, and everything will be finished up for this cycle.
Are you done, John?
Go ahead.
Okay. Is this the cabin and chassis?
Yes.
It's not the full.
No, that's just cabin chassis.
So this is replacing an old one?
Yes.
What year is the old one it's replacing?
97, I think. 1997, I think.
So what is that the full expense of a total engine is 106,000?
No.
Okay, I didn't
No,
think.
that's just a cab. That's just
Okay.
a cabin chassis. You're looking at
That's what I'm at.
anywhere between $400,000 or $500,000 for
Okay, so,
a total engine.
okay,
And
so,
that right there is going to be a ladder truck.
okay,
So it's going to be a lot more.
okay, so that now has that ladder truck, that's why I was asking this question. Where has the other part already been purchased?
The ladder,
Everything else besides,
it's being built at the factory.
so it's not been nothing paid for on the other part, nothing,
No,
okay.
no, once all this, no, this is just for the cabin chassis. And then they'll get another 45,000 next fiscal year up till the end of the levy cycle. And then payments on their own after that.
Okay, so in other words, they're going to get another 45,000. So they must have about $600,000 to $750,000 in an account somewhere.
No.
Okay, well, where's the other 500,000 going to come from?
Well, they'll pay it out of their they just make a yearly payment. So they'll whatever their levy funds.
So it's all bought on credit?
Yeah.
So is all the engines done that way?
Yeah, they have to be.
Is there an outstanding debt on the engines presently? I'm just curious. I've never seen anything like that. Is there an outstanding debt on all the engines right now?
On the ones that are being purchased.
All of it.
No,
or the ones that's purchased?
The ones that's purchased previous has already been paid for.
Okay, so we don't have any engines that is presently being financed.
These new ones just being built.
Okay. So the fire department or the commissioner, nobody owns anything right now that's having to be financed.
No.
Okay. I'm just trying to learn a little bit more about the process, and I know the cost is between $500,000 and $750,000. But I was just curious that 106 where the other part was going to come from, but it's going to come the next 10 years. Is that what you're saying?
Most of them are financed between 7 and 10 years.
Right. Okay. All right.
And they get the truck replacement money is this time around it's $45,000 because it usually goes up about 4% every 5 years because of the material increase. And once that money's finished up at the end of a 5-year cycle, then they'll make a payment out of their own funds.
Okay. Out of their own funds.
Yes.
The funds that's been allotted to them.
Yes. Or their state money they can use for what we call retirement of debt.
Yeah. I think I read something like it. Anything to do with the fire department, equipment,
Yes,
stuff like that. This 97 engine, where will it go when the process is finished?
well, they'll put it out for bid and sell it if because I'm sure there will be somebody that'll bite on it. But they have to put it out. They have to put it out to bid to sell it.
unless it's to another fire department.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Jeff.
There's three material.
Thank you. Thank you.
I'll get dressed and stuff here as soon as we get everybody else gathered up to get to. Any other questions?
I didn't have any. You guys have any other questions?
No, ma'am.
Nope.
Thank you, Jeff.
Thank you.
It's okay.
It's not just me.
We could just, this is a speaker too, though, isn't it? I mean, interference.
We're gonna take it.
Hey, Joe, you didn't have to turn red.
You know, some two-sided tape will cure all
What
that.
did I
problem.
say?
Well,
Stuff
I've
that I
been,
didn't work last week.
for up here, I've been coveting that one that I told you Fayetteville had because it was so good. They're swearing by it.
So we are approving these or not?
I think
Okay, I move we approve.
that's second.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Well, we have to sign on a bunch of things.
Oh, we
Yeah,
got to
you
sign
have a bunch.
all those?
It's just one, isn't it?
No, well, there's one, like there's the Anstead one, there's Golly Bridge one.
I thought there was two. Is this just a
Yeah, it should be one for Hampstead, one for Dolly Bridge.
Okay.
Yeah, they're all packed. Just sign it.
Maybe they need one more copy.
Joe, did everybody send in their information that was requested?
Yes, sir. Got it all.
Good.
How many more new engines have you signed for?
There was a total of 5 that is levy cycle.
It's past levy cycle?
The one we're in now.
Okay.
Montgomery, Boomer, Hampstead, Dolly
There's
Bridge,
two.
and
There are 2 for each fire department, that's why there's 4.
Basically everything across the river.
well, 2 down in the valley, and Boone Valley, and 3 over across the river.
I always say across the river for all of them. That's across the river is what I do. What am I doing? I'm trying to talk and sign at the same time. I can't do that.
Most of the south side of the river got trucks last levy cycle.
All right, I'm gonna go ahead and move on if you don't
Yes, ma'am.
mind. Brooke, this is a very good presentation you put together for us.
Yes.
Very, very helpful. Thank you.
It's the best that we've had.
Yes, it's nice to meet you, by the way. I'm Allison. Tom, John. All right, just go ahead. Yeah, go ahead and get started. Neither of us have our hearing aids. You missed that part, so.
Yeah. So
I know you know what the new river main study does, but this last year, I wanted to let you know that 2,077 cats, dogs, rabbits, and guinea pigs actually were also picked up for 2021. 553 of those were brought by animal control and or law enforcement in Russell's present. In between Russell and the new ACOs coming on. And that leaves 1,524 brought by citizens of all the different municipalities from the county of Fayette County. I don't know if you realize how significant that is, but a lot of animals, even ACO I talked with, they end up coming into us sick or injured, usually needing vaccinations of that nature and stuff like that. So that means that we usually have a pretty significant vet bill each year as well. Most of our animals we end up having to send out through rescues or foster homes and stuff like that. And it's been hard to find foster homes here lately with the COVID-19 pandemic going on. But there are some that are adopted locally as well, and they're safe with rescue organizations for those that we cannot adopt out. Usually the ones that we can't adopt out are dog aggressive or just scared and kind of like feral. We extensively use the volunteers also to provide transportation to these rescue pickups, and sometimes runs 1 a week and 2 a week. That equates to about $4,500 in gas each year. That does not include the volunteers who donate their own money to purchase the gas on the way up and back, or use their own vehicle, which of course wear and tear to their vehicles and stuff as well as included. For over 6 years now, the only animals that have had to be euthanized are the ones that are very sick beyond medical care with a vaccination and or very severely aggressive dogs who are not able to be handled by staff or veterinarians. That equated to only about 17 in 2021. The shelter is owned by the county, as you very well know, and we have a contract to manage this facility. And it costs approximately about $350,000 per year to run the shelter, and that includes employing the staff, food, vaccinations, medicine, veterinarian bills, which ended up being about $106,200 in 2021. Office supplies, insurance, maintenance, and fuel, and other operating supplies. The cost of the fiscal year for 2021 for employment, which was reimbursed by the county, was $164,493. So that left the remaining to be fundraised and funded by the shelter, which ended up being $185,507. With the COVID-19 pandemic and the increases in the prices and supply chain shortages, this made it difficult to raise funds. We've had several different fundraisers here lately that had to be canceled because we didn't have enough volunteers, or the pandemic got worse again and people were afraid to help out. So we're not very optimistic that we'll be able to completely receive full funding, but we're concerned we may have difficulties continuing to raise the funds for the invaluable service that we provide for the taxpayers and for the animals in the community. This past year, we were also short-staffed as we were without a director. The staff ended up taking up a lot of those responsibilities as well as the board of directors. And they worked voluntarily so that the shelter would run properly. It's fully staffed now, however, reducing employees or shortening the availability as our hours are very few at the moment. It only makes it more difficult because then they can't see the animals that we have. And then, of course, it takes away cleaning time if we reduce the staff shortages as well. The budget is crucial to continue effectively spaying and neutering, rescuing, and rehoming as many animals as possible. I understand you're also facing similar budget and revenue difficulties, but being very aware of these challenges, maintaining the shelter is dependent on the support of the county and the municipalities and as well as the general public to help send in donations and fund our low-cost spay and neuter program as well. I'm ready to ask that the Fayette County Commission help with the financial cost of continuing to run the shelter. We're roughly responsible for 2,000 animals, roughly, between last year and the year before. And then given that the cost to operate the shelter is approximately $350,000 per year, we calculated the cost per animal that we care for to be about $175. When you take in just the amount of calls made to the 911 center, ended up being 645. Of those, 21 were animal bites. Cruelty calls ended up being 86 different calls, and the remaining 538 were for other animal-related calls. If only 5% of those calls ended up having the animal picked up and brought to the shelter, that would have only ended up being 32.25 animals brought to us by animal control and or law enforcement, which ended up being not the case, as we had 553 animals brought in by animal control or law enforcement. If we were to take the 553 and multiply it by the $175 at the cost of care that we need to provide, it roughly equates to $96,775 just for what animal control brings in, not including brought in by the public for animals they can no longer care for or ones that they found as strays. Promise we'll do all we can to continue fighting and doing what we can to take care of these animals and maintain the running of the shelter. But we all ask to help us remain in place and be a source of hope for the animals that we can send out to rescue and out to local rescue.
Things that stood out about your numbers that you gave us to me is the large number, like almost 50%, were because people were unable to afford their pets. I'm wondering if there's not some way to develop a program that might help. Like, do you think those people would otherwise have kept their pets, or that was a reason they used? Or
I would say that about half is probably for the reason that they couldn't afford, just with the COVID pandemic and also with family members dying and they're bringing in their families like pets. We've seen a lot of that over just the last 6 months,
right,
being gravely ill and or died due to COVID. But I also believe that some of it is used that they just can no longer take care of the animal and they give you whatever reason they think you want to hear. Have any program ideas to help with that?
Yeah, I know. I just that number stood out so much more than, you know. What are some examples of unsuitable accommodations?
I've seen just here recently divorces and breakups. If they have an animal that barks all night and their neighbors are calling on them all the time, things of that nature. Okay. Oh yes, continually escaping.
I have that problem with mine. I had to put her on tether.
You know, that's what
I had to
cracks me
chase her
up.
for an hour the other day.
On the reports, it says escaped dogs and escaped cats. And I'm thinking like,
That's escape from us. When it's
yeah, I know, but how do they do it? They must climb or something.
No, listen here. Yeah, I'll let you hang with Lizzie Pete for like just a little bit and you will learn.
Okay.
She is always angling. I have a dog that can open any door, including a latch on the outside of my laundry room door. She has figured out how to aggravate the door to where the latch pops out.
We've seen them use their noses to raise the handlebar on the gate to play.
Oh yeah, that's it. Mine's been doing that for a long time.
Takes care of that.
Yeah, we use
Yeah, every single door I've had, every single doorknob, every single lock, I have one dog that has figured it out.
I want to compliment you again on this report. There's things in here that we've asked for and haven't received, but the total report, along with where animals were picked up at and stuff like that, that's very valuable to us.
Well, the more we understand, you know, it helps us understand more about where we're allocating taxpayer dollars. But I want to, so you guys get funding from Oak Hill and Fayetteville, right? Do you get Fayetteville or funding from any other municipalities right now?
I think we just get funding from the county for the payroll reimbursement, other than the grants and the donations that are sent.
I feel like last year we got a little bit from some of those municipalities. I cannot tell you exactly how much. Like the biggest one I feel like was like $1,500. But I don't hold you to that because the numbers aren't really my thing.
We can't.
I remember it. Okay. Yeah.
First, tell us who you are.
I'm Kylie. I'm the rescue coordinator and I'm a board member.
Okay.
You were here before.
Yes.
Yes.
I've been here a second time.
Yeah, I was like, I recognized you.
Yeah. So those numbers, don't hold me to them, but there was like a little contributed here. Fayetteville gave a little bit, Oakville gave a little bit. I can't remember if there was anything from the Valley or not. Again, I think the biggest one I remember was like $1,500. I feel like it was from Oakville.
Well, I tell you, there's a lot of animals that end up on the Montgomery side in Kanawha County. And the Kanawha County people, take care of them. I don't think they end up there. But.
I don't know. We get some Kanawha County dogs because they chip them and we scan their chips. You get some that probably have just migrated from that area, that line in the Montgomery area.
I just have one question. Where did all the other funding come from to fund the other money that you need that you're showing us that was expended?
We had fundraisers. They had
You had
grants.
You had $100 and some thousand in fund. 185,000 came from fundraising.
Donations. We get a lot of donations in that way as well. But
So that helped pay for the vet bill?
yes,
All the fundraising?
some of our volunteers, when they go to take their foster animals in, will go ahead and pay that bill outright for us as well instead of calling us.
I think not having the fur ball has helped them. I mean, it's hurt them a couple of years in a row too, because of the COVID stuff going on.
But one thing that I don't know if you guys are aware of, I know Kathy was, and I know she's been dealing with family issues, but that when you get an animal for a criminal case, the prosecutor is offered to pay for that out of his asset forfeiture budget. So for all the fees to keep the animals if they're being held for the purposes of criminal case. So just as a heads up, because we noticed, we asked him a while back and he said he hadn't received anything, and we'd seen a GoFundMe request after he had made that commitment. And I was just kind of, and then it occurred to me that you might not have gotten the news that he had offered to do that.
Every court case that I've attended so far, I've given an expense sheet for the court cases. So
have you? And he
but it's not always been the same prosecuting attorney.
Well, but it's not just for asking for restitution from the owners. It's like he's for the fees to keep them and stuff. Like he offered to pay that if you're having to hold an animal until the case is disposed of. Okay. So you might want to reach out to him, just talk to him about, come to an agreement about what that's going to entail. But that's another source of.
Reach out to Mr. Silverberg.
Mm-hmm.
Wasn't aware of that.
Yeah, I kind of guessed that, but anyway, that's just another. Resource, especially because that was one of the things Kathy brought up to us before, was that could get expensive.
Yeah,
and
we had one recently that we held for quite a time.
Well, if you submit that to him, he's got a fund that he, said that he's willing to commit when you're doing that.
Yeah, we just had one. So they brought in the guy on an unrelated charge and found the warrant. So that one, he was there for
Anything else?
He was with us for about 6 months.
Oh, he's on the phone, so.
Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Can you guys hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay. I mean, I have money from the asset forfeiture account that we can use for this. And then I also, in cases where we actually have to use a veterinarian to provide treatment in animal cruelty cases. I mean, there's a line item in my budget for investigations that would also cover some of, not necessarily all of the veterinary expenses, but certainly some of it.
Okay.
We do what we can to try to get money back from the defendant in criminal cases, but as a practical matter, that's generally that's a waste of time.
Okay. All righty.
I think we just weren't really clear on the procedure of that. And I think she thought by giving it to the other prosecuting attorneys that would
probably maybe rather than do that in court, maybe send him over, on a monthly or quarterly basis to his front office. And that's probably a more organized way to do it rather, because things are hectic. I can tell you, because I worked there in magistrate court, and it's, you know, you've got a ton of things in the air, and they probably put it in the file and then he doesn't see it, you know, and the file stays over there, you know, so, so I'm guessing that's, you know, it'd be more likely for it to come to his attention if you guys just send it to him on a regular basis. I understand Kathy has her hand up.
Yeah.
Hey, Kathy.
Hey, everyone. I just wanted to add some information about the court costs and whatnot. I know Anthony had offered that in the past, and like Brooke has said, as a part of the court cases, we do submit the amount that we have accrued in fees and whatnot that we ask to be as a part of restitution. And Brooke would know better as far as the percentage or the amount that that has been ordered to be paid back to us. I would say the vast majority of that does not get paid to us, even if it is ordered by the magistrate. But in some cases, we've had a number of cases where the assistant prosecuting attorney is just, for even though we've provided it to them ahead of time, has not followed through to put that request in at the time of judgment or whatnot. So whatever way Anthony or his office would prefer us to submit those bills or whatnot, we can certainly arrange for that to happen.
Okay, cool. All right. You guys have any more questions about the budget? All right, thanks a lot.
And don't be so nervous the next time.
No, you did a good job.
You did good.
Good job.
Did very well.
Yeah. We're going to take a 5-minute break. We're a little bit behind schedule.
Sorry.
Yeah, I was going to ask. Now I see why you always ask him.
Yeah.
All right.
Good morning.
Hit it. Good morning.
Should have in front of you, I got 2 budgets to present to you this morning. One of them is the emergency management budget, and the other one is the 911 budget.
Kevin,
Sir.
You're going to have to speak up.
Is that on?
Yeah, but he has no.
We don't have our hearing
Okay,
aids.
I'll do that. That's
Mine, I had a issue with mine during the week, so.
Is this better? Can you hear me now?
Yes, yes, that's
thank
much
you.
better.
All right, so on the emergency management budget, it is a bare bones budget as presented. It is the salaries only, and then of course the insurance and the retirement, travel, education, everything from overtime down. There's been no change in, matter of fact, there's no change in the entire budget at all. It is a bare bones budget. There was no training, no travel, no education due to COVID spent out of the budget, so everything remained the same. The budget's coming in under what was expected already, and that budget is pretty much the same. Nothing's changed.
How did the dispatchers take their raise?
I'll get to that one soon. I'll switch over to the 911 budget.
All right.
So other than that, the only question that I had, and me and Ruth spoke about this before, because she was asking me, and I think Commissioner Taylor, we spoke about it once before, he was asking about the rent that is paid off of the emergency management budget. Going back and looking at things, from what I can tell, the reason why there was $36,000 added to the emergency management budget for rent was to offset a deficit of 911 funds. Several years ago, there was a decrease in revenue for the 911 budget. So there was rent added to the fire association and the emergency management budget to help offset that budget deficit. So that's where the rent comes from, and that's what I have found out by asking questions and searching and talking to people that was here before my time, that this was inserted and put up on the budget to be extended. So the $36,000 still remains. It has been put on that budget as still an item there to be paid out on the emergency management side of the budget. Once this budget is also the salary is a 50-50 salary for the emergency manager's performance grant. 50% of the salary only is paid by the emergency manager's performance grant. We are 2 years behind on the performance grant. We just got an award letter last week that should be coming before the commission at your next commission meeting to sign and accept $54,000 of payment from the state for the emergency manager's grant for 2019. So that is a 50-50. So the total budget for the emergency management budget is $161,515.
Okay. Yes, any questions about that one? John?
Right.
Okay.
Moving on to the 911 budget. Last time me and Ruth had sat down and went over the budget before the commission discussed the pay increases for the salary of employees. It appears that we are on schedule with our revenues coming in. Our revenues are coming in at about 100 and some thousand to 200,000 every quarter from our wireless fees. Our landline fees are decreasing again. Our current landline fees are about at $4.50 per landline. Our fees have not increased in several years, and I do not think at this time it warrants a landline increase. I think we're good at exactly where we're at, and with our wireless fees, the wireless fees is exactly what keeps funding the emergency service budget. Those fees keep going, or the phone lines keep going up wirelessly, so that means more money's coming in off of the wireless fees. The only, of course, with the pay increase and everything, we did have a difference of about $250,000 added to the emergency management budget. But after combing the budget and looking at it, it was determined that the budget could support the increase that was given to our communicators. And we talked to each communicator, and they were very grateful for the raise that they did receive. Some of them, it was a make and break whether they was going to have to look for other employment or not. And because of that, we was able to retain at least 2 employees from leaving and going to another agency by them getting that pay increase and helping them out on that way.
Good.
Other than that, there is no changes. Everything from, of course, overtime all the way down, everything stays the same. Nothing has changed. All the contract services are the same as last year. Nothing's changed with contract services. Everybody's remains in the same current contract status. Professional services are all the same. Dues and subscriptions are the same. Training has opened back up, so we're actually getting to send people to training now. We have a first class coming up next month in Charleston that we're sending 2 communicators to for training, and then we're going to be doing some more hopefully training as soon as they start scheduling it for our communicators to get some additional educational hours.
What are some of the contracted services?
Our contracted services.
230.
That's all their equipment.
Our contracted services are 2-way radio, our phone system. Contracted services would be our HVAC system. The mapping software that we use, which is the Esri software.
What about the cameras? Is there a service contract on that?
There is not. We have to, anytime we have somebody come in, we have to usually get a bid out. And KTS was the last person that did the bidding out.
KTS. Okay.
They're right there across from Tyrese.
What'd you
I
say,
can't
Ruth?
remember.
We use KPS, so the ones that have.
So they're the ones that put that in?
Yes.
Okay, so there's no maintenance agreement on that or anything?
No.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
That was the original cameras, from my understanding, was part of a building build when the building was built. Anything that has to be done with the CCTV usually has to be contracted out, because I don't know nothing about the whole thing. Mr. Pack does either, because anytime something has to be done, we have to have something to work with the DVR and stuff. placing cameras and such.
Okay. Do you guys have any other questions about budget? Any more questions about budget? Okay, let's move on to the camera discussion. Commissioner Lucis.
Hey, Kevin, I've walked out there. I look at that monitor in there and it's kind of boring to me to be able to look at something. It's hard to manage something when I don't see anything. And that's the reason I asked about the cameras a second ago. I was thinking about asking the commission about putting more cameras out there so we can see what's going on in the operations. How do you feel about that?
As in, like,
well, I gave you an instance. Your chief of staff is who?
Tanya.
Who does Tanya oversee?
Tanya oversees the communicators.
Does she have video access to look at the communicators from her office?
She does.
Can she listen to them from her office?
We're not allowed to listen.
Okay, that's a problem.
Because of HIPAA.
Well, I understand. I understand.
Wait a minute.
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
That doesn't make sense. What do you mean? Because she could go back and listen to the recordings, right? And do a quality control on the.
Right, but because we can do it through audio quality control Q&A, but we're not allowed to have
on the video feed.
Yes, ma'am.
So she could actually, if she wanted to listen to the conversations.
We can listen to any conversations on the phone line or the radio because it's recorded.
Were you talking about the radio ones or conversations outside of the radio?
I'm talking about dispatch room.
Yeah.
Just like conversations outside the context of the calls they're taking.
No, calls and everything. I'm talking about.
Oh, okay. All right.
And I'm getting to a point.
That does make sense. Okay.
And the reason I'm getting that point is how does a chief of staff oversee an operation that she's not involved in the dispatch room?
She's involved. She's responsible for the training.
If I was overseeing it, to me, if I'm going to oversee something, I want to be in the thick of things.
Right.
I mean, how do you manage something on the outside when you can't hear what's going on the inside?
That's part of the Q&A process that we're required to do.
Okay, so she hears what's going on with the Q&A?
She has to listen to them, yes, sir. We're required to listen.
So all the time?
We're required to listen to at least 10% of each.
10%, that don't, 10% don't work for me.
Yeah, I mean, that's what we're required.
You're required, but it's not recommended that you only listen to 10%.
Under our APCO standards, which is our dispatch.
So that's the minimum. That's what you're saying.
Yeah.
He's not listening.
He's saying that the minimum's not enough.
Right, I understand that. That's just what I'm saying. That's what she listens to is what we're required.
I think I'm wanting to change some stuff out there. I'm wanting to see what's going on. And to me, the chief of staff, if I was a chief of staff and I had 4 people underneath me or 16 or 20, I would want to be listening to every conversation they had as they're dispatching these the fire department, the police department, or anything. That way I can oversee whether they've said something wrong. I'm just using that instance. Same reason I want us to look at everything that's going on out there. All the employees, even though we can't hear them, I like to see the reaction of work.
Right.
I mean, that's me.
You mean real time, like not going back and just as.
Even if I want to go back.
But
I'm
like 100% of them. The only reason I say that is because when I was in the military, I listened to comms and like it takes hours and hours and hours.
No, I'm saying when I'm mixing 2 conversations in one.
Okay.
In other words, I think she should be in there. I want to do some changing out there. How do you feel about a chief of staff being where the dispatchers are at?
I don't, because that's why we have shift supervisors on duty. Each shift has a.
Well, then what does she do?
She's responsible for the training, the continuing education. She's responsible for the state terminal, the registration of the state terminal, which is the tax system, which this is the information that I just provided you guys. She's responsible for that. She's responsible for.
So you don't think she should be in there listening to conversations as she's doing her work in the office adjoint to the dispatcher?
Not.
See, that's where my management, I would do it a little different way if I was a manager. I would want somebody in there actually overseeing the operation, even though even though you got supervisors, you may have a different supervisors for different things. But if I was managing it, I would want to be in the thick of things to make sure every word they said and everything they've done was correct. Not have to go back and look at 10% of past calls and conversations. If I'm sitting there and I'm listening to the conversation as I'm doing work, I can see what's going on in real time and catch the mistake. 10% don't catch all the mistakes, if there is any mistakes.
Well, I guarantee it there's mistakes.
Well, what I'm saying is, if you're in there real time, it makes a difference. But I'm getting off the subject. I'm just giving you one little instance of how I would like to do some changing out there. But you don't agree with that, and I understand.
No, the only reason why I agree is with the chain of command that I have set up is the supervisors are responsible for the day-to-day operations of their shift. And the supervisors then report any incidents that has to be taken care of outside their instance to the chief of staff.
I'll just as a general point, and I'm not going to be specific, but you know that a number of matters have come to our attention recently that have been dramatic instances that are happening among the employees there. And I think there is not a professional tone, at least on some of those shifts. I don't know, who's who and what's what, or who's causing what, but I know that the type of problems that are going on, that's a military-like, that's a first responder-like organization. And you can't have that kind of behavior and drama. I mean, they have to be consummate professionals to stay calm under pressure. And they, how can we expect them to stay calm under pressure on a call where, there's an officer in danger or something, when they can't even stay calm under pressure over something that was on Facebook? Right. That's the kind of stuff that just aggravates me to see it. And one of the supervisors' name has been in my email twice in a very short period of time. So that's what I think, that's partly what he's getting to, or at least it's the reason that I, that's one of the reasons. I see what you're saying. Operationally, it should be fine like that. I mean, you should have your shift supervisor, and that person should be like, everything's going on, and bring it to, management's attention, next part of the chain of command. But if there are problems with the supervisors not maintaining order in there, then it might be a good idea to have somebody else who's within earshot of what's going on. Of course, we know that's not going to be every shift. It's only going to be, during regular working hours, unless y'all are rotating.
Well, and me and Tanya have set it up to where each week we both take a shift, and instead of coming in at 8, I come in at 11, and usually say 11 to 8 or 9.
And I liked that idea.
So we both can see the evening shifts.
Right.
And make sure, because I've done that twice so far, and sit down with the shift supervisors. I brought them in when they come on shift. What's going on? Is there any issues? He's like, yes, sir. We need to, our keyboards are messing up. And I had this issue with this law enforcement talking about a municipality. And I said, okay, well, we can address this. Thanks for bringing it to my attention. But there's some other things too that I've been noticing. Email, for instance, that has been sent to you. Individuals stated, I didn't want to bring it to attention.
Yeah, we don't want to go into too much detail because those are personnel issues. I'm just saying, like, but to his point,
right? I understand.
You have some issues over there now.
Yes. If
you didn't have the issues, he wouldn't be asking these questions. Right. And I know that you had some concerns too. I mean, you can't run a sound operation with that level of responsibility with that high drama factor going on. And you can't address the high drama factor if, you even have your highest level person in the room involved in the drama. So, I think that, it is worth considering, even if for temporary period, having someone in there in with them, not just working in your office during the shift, but if you're going to work, where you can observe some of that stuff and, let them know you're there for support, let them know you're there,
So I'm just going to put this out to the commission. Would it be ideal? So I've already altered my schedule. Me and Tanya working on our schedule. Would it be ideal of the commission to alter that schedule throughout the week instead of one day a week? Say, alter it
Where are you gonna be at? You gonna be in the office or you gonna be in the dispatch?
I can move it. I can move I can even go into the.
There's a difference in asking that question unless you know somebody's gonna be in the dispatch area.
But if we move into the dispatch area, we got to move all of our.
I'm just making a point. It doesn't matter what you have to do it. I'm just saying there's no use in you rotating, even working midnight shift if you're sitting in your office and you're not there with real time, in my opinion. I don't know how the other two commissioners feel about it. I'm just telling you the way I feel about it.
What I would do, Kevin, you've got your dispatch, I call it circle. There's that other office right behind them that either Tanja or yourself could set in. And that way you could listen to what's going on. You can make sure that people aren't taking extended periods outside. And you can do the things that you know Tom's asking for just by sitting in that one office.
PJ, can we get that office set up to have all our screens in there? This could be done. Can we look at that and get all that?
Well, I mean, I checked into this, the camera issue. As long as it's not pointed, you're welcome. As long as it's not pointed at a screen, and certainly not at the inlets or the what you call the weapons terminal or NCIC and all that. As long as it's not pointed at their screen, and as long as it's not pointed at that, you can have cameras inside the dispatch.
The current one in there is what's called the 360 fisheye, which gets the entire room. It's in the center of the dispatch room, and it gets all four positions.
But it's not hitting their terminals.
Yes.
See, that's why there's two corners that you can put it in. There's a corner at both doors that can cover the whole area. You move that monitor and you're fine. You told me that one monitor is the reason.
That one monitor that says over here is the weapons terminal.
Yeah. And I thought to myself, I didn't say it to you because I wanted to bring it to the commission and talk about it. You said that's the monitor, the reason that you can't be seen from the outside.
Right.
So if you moved it to that one side, right on the other side of them other computers, and you put two cameras up on both doors, close to doors coming in, you can't see that. And I walked, if you remember, I walked to both corners and I looked and I knew where it could set to where it couldn't be seen. I mean, you can look for yourself. When you go, yeah. But I mean, to me, even the commission, I think we have a responsibility to the public. If I was you, Kevin, your job is the public. Dispatchers is the public.
Right.
Everybody that works in this county, our obligation is to the public. I want to try to make it efficient. I think the commission should oversee it a little bit better. The reason I wanted the cameras, not to be nosy. Our job is to try to make things as efficient for the public as possible. Give them what they pay for. So when I'm talking about this, it ain't for me. It's to make sure the public is taken care of with the best service this commission can provide. And it should be your thoughts too. No matter what, you should worry about the public. So I'm done with the camera thing.
Okay. Do you have anything else?
No, just that office could be used for them to set in and listen, and they can take care of their other items that they need to take care of, and they're in with the dispatchers. So that's what Tom was saying, all in a roundabout way.
Yeah. My concern is what I said, that I feel like that I get the feeling like over the last year I've been here, there's that people have lost sight of the mission, and that they're not mission oriented, that they're, either have too much time on their hands to talk about. So I don't know why any of that's going to come up in that small space. And I know when you're in a pressure cooker like that, you're together, there's a lot of togetherness in a 12-hour shift in that kind of situation. But the level of professionalism disappoints me from the personnel things that come to our attention. It really does, because those are not really significant issues. Those are things that maturity and focus should take care of.
No, we're speaking about the ones that me and you spoke of.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And well, and just other stuff that I hear too, you know, because of course we hear.
I just make sure that
we hear
we're
stuff
on the same page.
To me,
Yeah.
the willingness to change to make it better is what my concern is.
I mean, whatever we can do to make it better is what we want to make it better.
Okay.
And another, you know, while we're on the subject, you know, we had and it's coming up on the agenda, the Montgomery Fire. It concerned me, and it's something I want you to think about, because I've been thinking about for a few days too, because, you know, so for everybody's information, you know, Kevin called me as president of the commission because they had a special need for excavators down there, certain types to push in the walls for safety hazards down Montgomery, the walls of the building after the fire was extinguished. And we didn't have a process in place for fire departments to have quick access to that. Like for us to sign a contract, I was like, oh my gosh, we had to sign a contract. We'd have to have an emergency meeting. Like I was trying to think of all the stuff, all the bureaucracy that we would have to go through just to get that help. It was real-time help that we need to get down there. And I, you know, made a deal with the mayor of Montgomery. You signed the contract, and I talked to Ruth as our spending authority and said, are you comfortable, you know, spending, you know, it was under her spending limit, this amount of money. And if not, I recommend she call Commissioner Lucis. But, you know, are you comfortable spending that for this reason so we can get them the help right away? And that was the workaround we had. But then it occurred to me, you know, we may want to, I don't know if the county level, because we're so spread out, or at the fire department level or region level, or the fire association would want to, and I don't know if Joe's still listening, but if you'll bring this to his attention, but compete something for that kind of service if we have it again. Because like if we had a fire like that in Anstead of a tall building, we do have tall buildings, you know, our municipalities, any of our major municipalities have groups of them together. You know, this could come up again. And that's not, while I understand it's not common, like you usually have house fires and they're independent structures, but we do have some of those. To try to anticipate not only that, but through the fire chiefs, other types of external things that you think of, or law enforcement, you know, things that come up on the fly in an incident that's larger scale, like when the train went off in Mount Carbon and all that.
Things with outside the normal scope is what I try to look at. You know, they got all the tools, all these tools and everything to combat it, but when it comes to larger scales, it's like, oh, we don't have this here.
Right. But I feel like we need to at least have a policy in place of how, I mean, I understand, you know, we reached out to the state didn't have the equipment, and then now what?
Right.
You know, do we need to compete a contract in advance and have something, you know, a company that, you know, we know has applied for it, and then we call them out and then we figure out how to fund it, you know, so that kind of thing. The other thing, John just brought to my attention, which is something that, you know, that I raked over the coals over a little bit on the phone, but, you know, we had 2 people from the 911 center responded to that. And I'm not saying that's necessarily wrong, but it was a fire emergency and not like a more like derecho or a more unique type thing, or the train derailing. But, and then when I asked a couple of fire chiefs, I'm like, well, you know, do you need our people on the scene? And if so, what would they do? Well, the answer was liaison for, you know, for those needs, the types of needs I just described, to be able to, you know, make other things happen outside of the usual scope. But then, you know, I said, well, you know, who is that liaison supposed to be in your mind from our office? And, you know, at first one of the fire chiefs was saying, yeah, you know, Kevin. And then, well, wait a minute, you know, Joe's supposed to do it. Well, and, you know, and there's a bunch of confusion about that. So I think we need to look at the position descriptions, figure out, because we really don't need 2 of y'all down there. The more people in on a scene like that, the more people in the way, you know.
The reason why I went down was, number one, Joe called me on certain needs, and then somebody else was calling me, and I said, well, what does Benny need? Nobody could tell me exactly what the incident commander needed.
Right.
So when I got there, I met up with one of the chiefs. I said, he says, Chief Iliagi's on the other side of the building. So I went over, I said, Benny, what do you need? He's like, this is what I need. I said, okay. So I went back, got on the phone, started calling, putting in the requests that needed. This is what I need.
Right. I remember I talked to you right before you got to talk to him.
Yeah. And then, you know, the problem comes in when there's too many people calling and saying they need certain things and different things like that. The person who's supposed to be calling me is either the incident commander or the person who the incident commander has designated to call and request those resources.
Well, in asking that question, because I asked that too, because it just seemed so chaotic, you know, and I understand big fire, and we don't have as many things like that, and it went up so fast too. But the other question I asked was, you know, do you need them in person or would it be easier on the phone? And the answer was, we need them in person. Line of sight, we want to look and say, we need this, we need this, we need this. We don't want to have to worry about trying to call because they're not going to call. So I do think somebody needs to be there in person, but at least in a fire emergency, you know, I feel like you and Joe need to work something out about how that's going to work, because it just didn't seem to go smoothly to me.
It did not go smoothly.
Yeah.
Like I said, Joe first called me, and then another person called me. And by the time I got done, I had like 5 different phone calls of different needs.
Who was calling you besides?
I got a phone call from Joe, and then somebody had called the state who's not even associated with 911, called the state. Then the state called our regional liaison. Our regional liaison then called me, said, did you know about the fire? Which I didn't know about the fire until I talked to Joe. And it was just going all around the circle.
No, my brain is singing SOP. I feel like you need to get an SOP in place for this. You know, you and Joe need to put your heads together, the fire association, figure out how this kind of thing is going to work. And I think you need to think broader in terms of other responses, and then get that information out to the municipalities, push it through us. And, if you need Ruth to facilitate, both of you report to Ruth if you need her to facilitate the meeting, that's fine. But come up with something about this is so that way, because like if mayors are calling, then they'll know, like, no, we can count on you. You guys are going to do this, and make sure maybe we can get the information funneled through the 911 center, and then have an SOP within the center. Here's how you're going to handle this.
Yes.
When it gets to you, and maybe we need something where we reach out to the municipality, or where we proactively, once we know something's going on. I really feel like you were there. It was chaotic, and I could tell it was chaotic on the phone, and that alarmed me.
It was.
Yeah.
And that's why when I got there and got the information, I just backed completely up down the street to where I was in nowhere around making my phone calls and calling the individuals that I needed to call and communicate with you.
What do you think would make it better?
What do I think?
Yeah. What do you think would, make?
There needs to be like we said, a straight line of communications. Needs to be that designee. And if the case is that there's what needs to be the liaison, and it is a major incident, as in what happened, then the liaison should be the fire service coordinator reporting directly to the incident commander, who then calls me and says, this is what the incident commander says, or this is what the incident commander needs. Instead of this person calling and this person calling and that person calling.
Right.
We have a streamline that says, okay, if 10:01, Benny Filiaggi gets on scene, he determines that he needs a statewide mutual aid agreement or a county mutual aid agreement because we don't have all the resources in the county. He'll call, tell that mutual aid, tell Joe, we need our countywide mutual, or our external county mutual aid agreement executed. We need trucks to help, to backfill. So then Joe would call and say, we need this executed. We put our request in, executed. Instead of Benny will call, or this person will call.
On one hand, too, I want to encourage you to cut as many middlemen out of that process as possible, because I don't think, like in an emergency situation, Joe should be able to call straight into you or to 911 or whatever to start doing some of that stuff if he's the point person.
Right.
If you're the point person for it, it almost makes more sense. So I think you guys need to discuss that, because you don't want to have a big phone tree.
Right.
To get, something in an emergent issue.
Yeah, there should only, in order to get any state assets, it has to come from your director or your deputy director. Okay. And right now I'm the appointee to the state for those resources. So we can designate somebody to be a second point that says, okay, I'm getting this stuff, but I got to call and make that one call and then it's done.
Okay. And who else knows how to do that if you're not available?
The only other, well.
in your office?
In state code, it says that if I'm not available, then it falls back to the president of the county commission.
You wanted it, you got it.
That's good. I did not want it, for the record. For the record.
Yeah, if the director of emergency management is not available, then the county commission president is the next responsible person.
Then you have to get me some information, don't you?
Absolutely.
All right.
Yes, ma'am.
Excuse me, why did I ask that question?
Well, no, I'm glad I did.
And actually, just for your information later on coming up, and hopefully, I'm trying to host the class. There's what's called a G402 class, which is a class for government officials in the emergency management field. I think Commissioner Brinkman got to take the class when we first was there.
I think we all need to take the class because president could be somebody different and there might not be another class.
I think the last commissioner was able to take the class and hasn't been hosted since then. So I'm trying to.
Somebody else might get it next time.
I'll be happy to take the class. Is it free?
It is, yes, sir. It's free. We host it and we actually provide the meal. It's like
I'm there. And you get a nice little certificate that says you've gone through the class.
I don't want the certificate. I don't need anything junking up my house.
But it wouldn't hurt for all three of us to do it.
Well, no, I feel like we all three, because
Right.
any given year, somebody might make you president against your will. So,
I think we need to anyway.
yeah,
So
I think
will,
so too.
I'll go back.
We all need to know because I might not be available. There might be a third, it's going to be whoever's.
Yeah, so I'll go back and try to find out when they're going to schedule this class and see if we can get it scheduled sooner than later.
Okay. Thank you.
Well, on the camera thing, can we put an RFP in to see what it would cost to
get the cameras moved? Is that something?
or move
is that
or
not something
extra
that,
cameras or
you
whatever?
do that? Do you handle the cameras? How did they get installed to start with? We had a company come in, or okay, so KTS did it. Are they already on contract with us, or would we need to do something?
I think we probably have to check the DVR or the, well, we pay for it.
I can't.
Lighter technology, our security, our network people that do our security and all that, they do that.
They do that too.
I mean, you can just get a couple. You can just get a couple quotes. You don't have to actually have like a big proposal unless it's gonna be a high dollar amount. I can't imagine that.
No, it should.
Well, I mean, there's only 4 cameras I see yet that we can see.
Yeah, so it sounds like we don't even need to go as far as an RFP because of the cost amount.
Yeah, we need more cameras is what we need. I don't know whether it costs any more for a few more cameras.
There's 4 outside, 1 in the hallway that goes to the exterior hallway, then on the other hallway that comes in the door. So there's 4, 5, 6.
There's only 4 inside that we have access to. There's only a total of 5 together on the inside.
No, there's, yeah, no.
Well, then I'm missing some cameras.
There should be 4 outside.
No, I said on the inside.
Oh, in the inside. So there's 1, 2. There's only 3 on the inside.
Well,
Because there's a camera.
there is, right. Yeah, you're right. There's only 3.
There's 1 camera that points at each exterior door.
You're right. You're right. I
One
watched
for the front, 2 exterior doors.
So I think
4 outside.
we're going to need more cameras. I don't know what it would cost.
I mean,
What we got for the DRC to move all that, and I think we added extra, it was less than $5,000.
so that's in her range of.
Okay. I mean,
There were 20-some cameras they took out. I mean,
But I still think like you need to figure out how many you want.
Oh, that's why if the commission doesn't mind, I was going to go out there and point some places out. I've already walked inside.
Do you want to? Do you have specific like areas where you want to have them?
I walked out there the other day, and yeah, I mean, but I'd have to go out there with somebody making a drawing.
Mike might be able to help. I mean, he does all this for us. Like, how, I'm sorry, I'm ponying you up, but you're sitting here. But no, I mean, just as far as like camera placement and stuff, he understands. Did that for the whole.
You want to go out there with your
courthouse.
Mike?
I just got to meet.
Line of sight.
No, not today.
Not today.
We'll make it a point.
So I was just like, line of sight. He's like, oh crap. But, all right. Well,
Okay.
thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you, Kevin.
I should have asked y'all, did you have anything else for Kevin, John?
No, he's going to give us some information that I requested from him. We all got to get the same thing. And then
I'll put it
we can
together in a package
go
for
through
you,
this
so-
at a
Oh,
later,
thank goodness. I thought that whole
No,
thing was
ma'am.
like
It's
one set of
package.
paper. Okay.
at a later time.
Yeah, because there's nothing else on the agenda.
Yeah. So I'll explain to you, I know it's not on the agenda, but I'll explain what's in your packet, that way you'll know. The top is the current policy that I found that was saved on the computer and in the record files.
Okay.
Then you have the record application that is attached to it.
Mhm.
And then you have the, this is the rate that everybody uses for their towing fees. You have tow and go and you have crash. And then on the backup, there's a couple of emails here between myself and the PSC that I attached, showing that we do have one record service that I have to work on later on. I can't discuss that right now. And then back here, I attached the stuff from the Public Service Commission to show that they're registered to do emergency tow for hire service. And then there is the record report that Commissioner Brandon asked for from January 1 to present that you can look at.
Okay. Who did the circling and the highlighting?
That was saved on the computer.
Okay.
That was scanned into the computer and I printed it off that way. And then the piece that I found, the one that I found in the actual, there's a file that says record rotation, has the same thing in here, but it's in green highlight. So it looks like, as I said in my email, it looks like it's a marked up version from the previous commission minutes in 2018.
Okay. All right. Well, thanks for putting this together for us.
So that's your whole packet. And I think that's everything that Commissioner Brenneman asked that I give you guys to review.
Yep.
But I give you that.
Thank you.
Did you guys put aside your budget documents for our books?
John did.
John?
John already did.
He
I
did?
Yeah, I'm always late on that.
What you need for your folders? Are they already in your folders? Nothing.
Just in case, I wrote on mine.
I
so
wrote
don't
on mine
have
too.
Okay.
I'm just
All
so
right.
used to handing them over.
Is Mayor Ingram on by any chance? Do you need another break?
He is, but let me keep.
Yeah, we have time for another quick break.
Okay.
All right, let's take a 10-minute break. And in the meantime, let's see if we can rouse Mayor Ingram and maybe start a little early. I can text him. Let me
Yeah,
text him.
just text him and see if he's available.
What else is going on, John?
He's on his way to the office. Oh, he's not there. Oh, gosh.
Sounds something like this.
All right. We're running a little early now, thankfully. And Mayor Ingram will be on with us in about 5 minutes. So just kind of, he just texted me a new picture. Gosh, the building is daggone
Oh,
new.
wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Did you see it?
Well, that's good.
Michelle,
Mm.
look at that.
Yeah.
This makes me sad. Like all the things that made, it's like, you know, it's not exactly like the Twin Towers going down, but you know how it changes the whole skyline of New York. And then that's Montgomery's whole, you know, identity between the tech buildings coming down and that, you know, and this building coming down, like those are like landmark buildings in Montgomery that made its landscape what it was, made its personality what it was. It's heartbreaking to me. And they're grand old buildings. I mean, it's a shame that we weren't able to maintain them. I'm not sure. Of course, we know the Memorial Building, how expensive it is. So I can't imagine a small municipality like that could afford it anyway. But gosh, It's heartbreaking.
Is this correct according to what NVU sent us?
Oh, I don't know. I'd have to.
Can you pull that and give me a copy of it when you or email it to me, email it to me what WVU fixed
That's
it.
also almost 20 years old.
Yeah, I know, but I'm just curious. Probably less. This is less, I bet you. I have things, I'm gonna underline some things in this I want to discuss.
I have got to, do not let me not call it. I lost this in my briefcase and it was from the 3rd. I haven't returned it yet. Oh. Call this person back. You did, because I had you police up about 7 or 8 candy wrappers over there. Yeah, go ahead and mute it. He should be there in a minute. All right, we've got Mayor Ingram on the line, and we were going to talk to him about, we had mentioned earlier in the meeting, we had a major fire in Montgomery. Sadly, one of our beautiful buildings down there that has been dilapidated, but from the outside it looked good. Has burned down, and there are some safety issues with the building. We had a report that Mayor Ingram emailed me last night at my request of the City of Montgomery's council, just to document, so we had an outside party and not just our own judgment that these walls need to be knocked in. And they had an engineer take a look at it and tell them what to do. And we have an excavator on scene that's doing this work. And the original estimate for the work was $5,000, which is below the $15,000 spending limit the county administrator can authorize. And she, over the phone that night, authorized the $5,000. And it's our understanding through Commissioner Brenneman that there's another $3,000 that the City of Montgomery needs from us. Is that the current state of affairs, Mayor Ingram?
Yes, I just left the site down there, and they're just trying to get it to us where it's safe. And right now it's about to crew out into the street. So we're trying to work from behind and pull it back inside. But yeah, the city's got a little bit of money. They told me the last estimate they gave me was $10,000 to bring it down to a safe level. We think the front of the building is probably structurally sound and it may not need to come down at this point, but the backside on 4th Avenue is definitely curling. And that's what we're trying to remediate now. The other side of the building is also a little bit of concern, but we can't tell until we get in there. And Allison, I don't know if you can see a picture, but let me see. Can you all see that?
Oh yeah, I just showed everybody the one you texted me.
Yeah, that's the one I just sent you.
Yeah,
so,
that's
where we are. That's where we are right now, and hopefully they're telling me 2 days. So hopefully by tomorrow afternoon we'll have it down and have it into a safe condition. And we are only knocking it down for public safety. The property cleanup is going to be the property owner's responsibility. And he's not talking right now.
Okay. Well, that's understandable. Just keep us apprised of that, if you will. And if we need to pitch in down the road, we can put it on the agenda.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Okay. So, you know, this is obviously within Ruth's discretion, but does anybody have a problem with the $8,000 to help Montgomery clean up a safety hazard?
Nope.
No. All right. So let's just go ahead and do that. I don't think we need to vote on it. But now, you know, for a fact, we're good with it. And
or something.
Hey, Mayor Ingram, can you make sure, and I did ask this of Brian Parsons, his counsel last night, but can you make sure we get an invoice either from the city or you know, probably from the city, since it's all going to go through you for the 8,000? Okay.
Absolutely. And we really thank you, Commission, for helping us out. This is a real bad situation. Of course, as you know, it's all over West Virginia, and really appreciate the assistance.
Okay. Well, thanks for keeping us posted. We're glad we could help. All right. That concludes our meeting. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Adjourn.